The morning they poured concrete across my access road, I knew the HOA had finally lost its mind. I was halfway through swapping out a radiator on my old Chevy when I saw them. Bright orange vests, a roaring cement mixer, jackhammers cutting up the only gravel road connecting my workshop to the main drag. You ever have that feeling where your blood just spikes? That was me, wrench clattering too. The floor as I hustled downhill, grease on my hands, mind already racing. Hey, what the hell is this? I yelled, but I already knew who was running the show. Tiffany Keller, Queen of Ridgemont Hills. HOA, weighted by her SUV, sun hat cocked, clipboard in a death grip. Her voice could cut rebar. This road is not up to code. We're sealing it off for the safety of the community. She said it like a judge delivering a life sentence. I tried to keep it together. That's my access road. Been there since the 70s, my dad put it in. I got an easement, it's in my deed. You can't just block it. Tiffany clicked her pen, smirking. We voted. Crosses HOA property. It's closed, Mr. Kane. The woman had no mercy, just that flat, smug HOA tone that makes you want to check your blood pressure. I walked away before I said something I'd regret. You know what I mean? No way was I letting that clipboard tyrant strand me on my own land. That night, I pulled every document out of the fireproof box, old county maps, my deed, the original easement agreement from when Dad bought the lot. Black and white. I had right of way, in perpetuity, through that strip. But the next morning, at the county office, I learned Tiffany wasn't bluffing. She'd rammed through an emergency board vote, called my road a fire hazard, got her crew to pour concrete before sunrise. Petty? Sure. Illegal? Maybe. But here's where it got interesting. Right beside the blocked road ran a skinny strip of land, about 10 feet wide, owned by some defunct landscaping company that hadn't paid taxes in years. Is that parcel for sale? I asked the clerk. She peered at the screen. Actually, it just went up for auction. 2 weeks and $1,200 later, it was mine. I had it surveyed, paved it. Myself, sweat, gravel, rented grader, the works. I put up a steel gate with a keypad and a shiny sign, private access toll road, $1.20 entry. And here's the kicker. I built it so every single member of the Ridgemont Hills HOA board had to use my road to reach the main street. I charged the board $20, both ways. Tiffany showed up a week later, sunglasses on, jaw locked, leaning out her Lexus window. This is illegal. I waved the county map. I own it. You blocked my easement. Now I have a new one. Want to argue in court? She drove off in a huff. Next time, she tried to hit me with a stack of legal papers, swearing I'd regret it. She had no idea I'd already started digging through the HOA's finances. I took my greasy hands and a manila folder full of receipts to the next HOA meeting. Tiffany, in her navy blazer, acting like she was running Congress, slammed the gavel and accused me of unauthorized toll structures. I stood up, held my folder in the air, and called her out on $15,000 paid to a landscaping consultant with no business license, a company run by her own cousin, closed for 3 years, but still cashing HOA checks. The room went dead. Silent. Someone shouted, "Wait, what?" I kept going. The grounds inspection golf cart, bought on HOA money, sitting in Tiffany's garage, her kid driving it to school. The security camera system that was never installed, but $6,000 paid to a company at the same address as the landscaping firm. It all unraveled fast. Residents demanded a full audit. Tiffany's grip on her gavel got real shaky. A retired board member named Reggie handed me a cardboard box full of old HOA minutes and original bylaws. Turns out, the HOA never had authority over private roads, just the pool and 2 cul-de-sacs. No fines, no power grabs, none of this madness. I scanned everything, sent it to the county investigator along with a list of neighbors willing to testify. Next thing you know, the sheriff's office is digging through the clubhouse, carrying out boxes, and Tiffany's Lexus vanishes for 3 days straight. The county attorney brought charges: embezzlement, falsified public records, obstruction of emergency access. Tiffany and her buddies had to resign. The rest of the board melted away. The neighborhood, finally fed up, voted to dissolve the HOA entirely. Over 70% signed the petition. By the next month, we had a volunteer council, no dues, no fines, just neighbors keeping each other honest. I kept the toll gate, but made it free for everybody except the old board. Emergency crews got priority access, and the concrete slab Tiffany poured across my easement, I had it hauled off and planted a row of pecan trees. Figure they'll outlast any HOA. Nonsense. Then the real mess started. The county fraud investigators showed up, badge and all. They'd traced the HOA's payments through shell companies, Cayman bank accounts, and a so-called landslide risk study on property the HOA didn't even own, a forged deed signed by a dead board member. Federal investigators got involved. Turns out, Tiffany and her board were scheming to rezone the green belt by my lot, lease it to a developer tied to her brother, all under the guise of fire safety upgrades. Wire fraud, racketeering, environmental violations, the whole 9 yards. When the indictments dropped, the news trucks circled like buzzards. People who never waved before started stopping by to ask how it all began. I told them, it started with a road, nothing more, nothing less. In the end, Tiffany went to prison, along with 2 board members. The county seized their assets, froze every HOA account, and reclassified the land as protected conservation space. Off limits forever. We even got a new metal sign at the end of the road, Heritage Way. Reggie dropped by with a plaque for the gate, for the residents who stood their ground and the road that couldn't be stolen. Funny how a strip of gravel became the symbol for what the whole neighborhood almost lost. After the dust settled, I noticed things changing. Kids on bikes again. Folks walking dogs without some clipboard tyrant hassling them. Someone painted a mural on the old clubhouse. Trees, hills, a winding road. A little blue truck rolling along the bottom. I didn't sign it. Didn't need to. The toll gate's still there, but it's never locked. It stands as a reminder. No matter how deep the corruption, sometimes all it takes is a stubborn mechanic, a stack of old maps, and a few good neighbors to bring it all down. The pecans are blooming now. Freedom's like that. You plant it deep, let it take root, and it'll outlast just about anything, even an HOA. So what do you think? Did justice win, or did it just get a lucky break? Drop your take in the comments. Ever taken on a petty HOA or fought for what's right in your community? Let's hear your war stories. And if you think this was wild, just wait till you hear what happened when they tried to tax my chickens that you'd think that after everything, the indictments. Tiffany going to prison, the old HOA board vanishing like cockroaches when the lights come on. Life in Ridgemont Hills would settle down, right? For a little while, it actually did. Neighbors started acting like, well, neighbors again. The pecan trees I planted took root. That mural on the clubhouse got brighter every week. And my toll gate? It just became a landmark. Kids would race their bikes under it, and every once in a while someone would stick a thank you note in my mailbox, usually signed, sometimes anonymous, always honest. But you know how it goes. Peace doesn't last long in a place where folks have gotten used to being pushed around. And I could tell, just from the way people talked at the new community meetings, that nobody was in a rush to let the past repeat itself. Funny thing, when you break the spell of fear, people start noticing all kinds of other stuff that's been swept under the rug. One rainy Wednesday, about 2 months after the trial, Reggie knocked on my door again, carrying a battered metal lunchbox and looking a little more serious than usual. "You got a minute?" he asked, wiping his boots on the porch. Inside, he handed me the box. "I found this cleaning out my old shed. Belonged to my brother. You remember Steve? Used to work county code enforcement back in the 90s. Inside were piles of faded photos, old inspection reports, and a stack of letters, some official, some scrawled on napkins and receipts. What caught my eye was a folder marked Private Access Roads. Reggie leaned in, his voice low. "There's more land disputes in this area than anybody realizes. The same folks Tiffany got cozy with, they're still around. Some never even got caught." That night, I couldn't help but dig in. The records painted a clear picture. Quiet deals for drainage projects that never happened, kickbacks tied to maintenance contracts, and, yeah, other easements that had been accidentally rerouted or erased from county maps. I started mapping everything out, seeing patterns nobody else wanted to see. Apparently, our HOA scandal was just the tip of the iceberg. Here's where the twist comes in. One name kept popping up, over and over, tied to old deeds, forged signatures, and closed-door meetings with consultants. It wasn't Tiffany this time. It was a local real estate attorney. named Marshall Price, who'd quietly helped dozens of HOAs, including ours, reinterpret their powers when it came to property rights. The same Marshall Price who just so happened to sit on the advisory board for a big regional development firm. That firm? They'd been eyeing the wooded land just east of Ridgemont Hills for years. I probably wouldn't have put it all together if it weren't for Sharon, the former HOA treasurer. She dropped by with a flash drive one afternoon, hands shaking. "You need to see this," she whispered. Turned out, she'd been copying files from the HOA's old cloud account before Tiffany deleted everything. Meeting minutes, emails, even a couple of voice memos where Marshall laid out a strategy to quietly acquire conservation land by breaking up easements and exploiting loopholes. They planned to rezone the green belt, just like before, but this time they wanted to push through a luxury condo project under the guise of senior living. You can imagine how that sat with folks who'd moved here for the quiet and the trees. The neighborhood council called an emergency meeting. For once, people weren't scared to speak up. Even old Mrs. Lewis, who never raised her voice, stood up and read out loud from the emails, her hands shaking, but her voice steady as a freight train. The vote was unanimous. Take the evidence to the county, call in the press, and make damn sure nobody could quietly steal another inch of land out from under us. By the end of the week, the county launched a full investigation into Marshall Price and his developer buddies. The local paper finally ran a front-page headline about the Ridgemont Hills land scheme. And you better believe, suddenly everyone in town had an opinion. Lines were drawn. Some people accused us of overreacting, others wanted to bulldoze the developers' offices. The online forums lit up like Christmas. Some folks from the next subdivision overstarted, stopping by, asking how we'd managed to take down our HOA, how we got the county to listen. I'll tell you, there's nothing quite like watching a place wake up, where once you'd see people hiding behind hedges. Now they stood together at the end of the block, hashing out ideas, swapping paperwork, making real plans. The road I fought for, the one that started all this. It became the rallying point. The county's protected access plaque at the gate. Now people touched it for luck, like it was some kind of charm. Of course, the fight isn't really over. It never is, not in places where power and money are involved. Last week, I got a letter from a law firm representing the developer, thinly veiled threats about interfering with commerce and spreading misinformation. I pinned it up next to the old easement agreement on my workshop wall, right next to a photo of my dad standing by the original access road, smiling like he'd just outsmarted the world. So here we are, a town that finally learned how to stand up, not just to a petty HOA, but to anyone who thinks they can bend the rules for a buck. Some nights I walk the new path under the pecan trees, listening to the hum of crickets, thinking about how close we came to losing everything that matters. And I can't help but wonder, how many other neighborhoods out there are fighting the same quiet battles and don't even know it yet? So I'll throw it to you. What would you do if the folks in charge tried to steal your land, your voice, your freedom? Would you back down, or would you dig in and fight, even when nobody's watching? Drop your story, your thoughts, your wildest HOA nightmare below. Let's keep this conversation rolling. Because if there's one thing Ridgemont Hills proved, it's that justice doesn't end with a gavel. It starts with people who refuse to be silent.